Today on the news and why it matters, is the deep state a real thing? Nikki Haley might convince you that it is. Also, Impeachmentgate 2019, the whole circus is starting. We have got the latest for you coming up this week. Don't change the channel. It starts right now. Welcome to the news and why it matters. Happy Monday. I am Sarah Gonzalez, today joined by Stubergear in the house.
Yes.
And we have also got the Hodge twins. I can't believe it. Keith and Kevin Hodge, comedians, YouTube extraordinaires. You guys do everything. Well, I should say the alt-right twins.
I prefer the alt-right twins.
Alt-right comedians.
I actually
Keith
prefer black Nazis. That's our new nickname.
I'm trying to see how that computes. I don't quite.
Yeah, those two don't even go together, right?
No, not so much. Not
That's
so
what
much.
I thought. Yeah.
Well, we're really glad that you guys are here. Thanks so much for being here. It should be a really fun ride today.
Yeah.
Got a lot to get into. First, we want to thank our sponsor, Boll and Branch. So, talk a lot about pillows and mattresses, and you need to make sure that your mattress is not too firm but not too squishy, and your pillow needs to be just so. You don't talk about sheets, but sheets really make a difference, right? You're laying in bed, if you've got these scratchy, itchy sheets, or if you've got sheets that don't breathe and get sweaty.
Yeah.
You wake up sweaty.
Yeah, I had some of those last night in my hotel room.
Did you?
I just took them off.
You need to tell your
Why
hotel.
am I sweating here?
Yes, you need to tell your hotel about Boll and Branch. They are the softest, most comfortable sheets in the world, and the only bedding loved by 3 U.S. presidents. They're 100% pure organic cotton. It's soft right out of the box, and it gets softer every time you wash it. It's like magic, I swear.
That's amazing. God, I could get some of those. Make the sheets great again, huh?
See? Okay, well, let me tell you where you can get them.
Mega sheets.
For a limited time, you can get their luxury flannel bedding. They breathe. So the cool sleepers will stay warm. The warm sleepers will stay cool. You're not going to wake up sweaty like he did in his hotel room last night, okay? Wow. You got to go to bollandbranch.com. That's BOLL and branch.com. If you use promo code MATTERS, which is a weird promo code, right?
Should be MAGA.
MAGA sheets. If you use promo code MATTERS, you will get $50 off of your first set of sheets. You can try them out 30 nights risk-free. All right, that's a win-win. bollandbranch.com, promo code MATTERS. Get you $50 off of your first set of sheets over there at bollandbranch.com. So Nikki Haley is releasing her new memoirs. It is called With All Due Respect. And she's doing some interviews, making the rounds. The press has gotten a copy. But some interesting excerpts have leaked, apparently, according to the Washington Post, which I know it's the Washington Post. Okay, so sue me. Well, really sue them. Okay, but so Haley wrote in her memoir that Rex Tillerson and John Kelly actually confided in her that Trump was unsuited for the office of the presidency and they were resisting his directives in the best interest of the country. What warriors, what heroes. Stu, this kind of seems to me like that's the whole deep state thing that we keep seeing play out in the impeachment, the whistleblower, everything. It's just, it keeps coming back to the State Department thinks that they should be the ones to run the show, not realizing that they actually work for this guy.
Yeah, one of the things we have is a process to figure out what is the best thing for the country, and it's called voting. We all go to the polls, we pick the person we think should do the job. And, look, the president has a bunch of responsibilities that are really important, and we elected a guy who'd go in and do that. If you don't like that, you can argue with him, you can resign. But what you can't do is do the opposite of what he's asking you to do. I mean, you're supposed to be supporting the president, and you've got to be, hopefully there's enough of a conversation there where you can go in there and say, look, yeah, I think you're totally wrong on this one. If he kicks you out of the office, he kicks you out of the office. But I mean, it's your job to not, subvert the presidency of the United States. That's not how this country is supposed to operate.
Yeah, I would expect a lot more from our government, our elected officials. I mean, they sound like 2 gang members to me. We're going to take this fool out.
It's true, it's true.
Yeah, it's sabotaging democracy in this country. It's just, that's horrible. Why would they have this conversation? They should have this conversation not with Nikki, but with the president. Yeah. I'm not even that smart, and I know that. You know what I mean? These guys sound like some Bloods and some Crips. We're going to take this fool out. We're going to undermine him. It's amazing selfish. What Trump has been able to accomplish with all this stuff going in the background.
Well, I mean, and you want to talk about abuse of power. I mean, if you don't agree with, usually the way that it works is if you work for an organization and you don't agree with what they're doing, you have the option to just quit.
Yeah, that's like going to work, say, we ain't gonna follow the boss's orders.
Exactly.
We'll get them fired. And like no one man should have that amount of power anyway. That's why our government is set. We have checks and balances. You know, and these guys are jerks. They want all the power. You shouldn't have that amount of power. No one man should have that amount of power. If you have a disagreement, sit down with the president and discuss it with him.
And that's what Nikki Haley says she does in the book. A couple times when she doesn't disagree with him, she goes and she talks to him, they have a conversation. I mean, a lot of times stuff happens where people like promote these candidates and you're like, oh, they're going to run for president. And the next time, I totally believe the hype with Nikki Haley. Like this is a rollout, man. I mean, she is aligned herself with Trump, generally speaking, but showing she has a little bit of independence and she can push back here and there, but did it respectfully and in the right way. I mean, she's doing this in a way that she's already one of the leaders for 2024, and it definitely seems like this is legit. This is her really, you know, this is a book that sets the tone for a future campaign, and you know, it's hard to believe it won't happen.
She also said she recalled feeling unconvinced when Rex Tillerson told her that he was resisting the president's decisions because, quote, if he didn't, people would die.
He did run Exxon, so.
I mean, you have to wonder, was he the one who published the New York Times anonymous op-ed? Right?
Yeah.
Who was it?
It's possible.
I keep going back to it. I want to know.
Well, the book's coming out next week, right?
Yeah.
So that's going to be back on everyone's mind, I guess, to figure that out.
Which it shouldn't.
Was Tillerson there when that came out? I can't remember.
I think he was.
Was he? I thought it was right after he got fired. I could be wrong. He may have been there. Yeah, I mean,
I'll have to go back and look.
Yeah, I feel like it's one thing to write a column and be able to get away with, you know, with hiding yourself. To write an entire book, you know, that's how they found the Unabomber, because he used some weird term that his brother always heard him say. He was the only person I ever heard him say that word.
That sounds like Ted.
That sounds like Ted. It was Ted.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it's funny. I don't know if you're going to be able to get away with it. I always think my guess on that one, the one I was mildly convinced on, was John Huntsman Sr. or Jr., excuse me. That was he was the ambassador to Russia, I think, and we had some guy on one time, and he had this whole theory about how it was him, and it was kind of convincing. It was all this language that he had used over and over again. So I don't know. That's my speculation, but Tillerson would be a huge one. I mean, if it's really Rex Tillerson, a Secretary of State writing a book under an anonymous pen name while in office would be one of the biggest scandals, I think, in American history.
I mean, the sad thing is there's no telling, because it seems like almost everyone around him is trying to undermine him, which is really great for the state of our country, right? I mean, well, what do you think is it responsible of a publisher to publish a book, as Stu pointed out, that's completely anonymous? Wow. Is it responsible? Because how is the public able to do vetting? How are you able to vet whether or not you think this is true?
Well, the National Enquirer gets away with it. So.
That's a great point. Yeah. That's a great point.
And people people love conspiracies. They love them.
Yeah.
That's true.
I mean, look, you know, an anonymous source can work two ways, right? It can be total BS, and it can be a way to just like air grievances. I mean, of course, you know, in some cases, we've seen this, you know, Watergate, and there's been times where it's been valuable. But it's largely because the people at the publication do know it's not anonymous to them, right? So unless you figure it probably is someone from inside the administration, you know, there's certainly plenty of examples of people who are bashing the guy from time to time. So it probably is somebody legitimate. But you wonder, I mean, if it was let's just back up a few years and go to the Obama administration, and let's say a high-level cabinet person was writing an anonymous book trashing Obama behind the scenes. Every media organization in America would dedicate their lives to out this person, to dox them, to have them in front of a jury within 6 months.
Great point.
And here, like, they don't seem to have any interest. It's like, oh, they found someone. Great, let's read the book. Leave everything in it. It's amazing.
Unbelievable. So along the lines of the deep state, yes, I said it, deep state. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. It's actually happening. Impeachmentgate. So the public proceedings are starting this week. Of course, the GOP handed over a list of who they would like to call as witnesses, and it was unsurprisingly rejected by the Democrats. I know
That is amazing.
Yeah. Well, is it though? I mean, it is, but then you're like, okay, well, of course they would do that. You've got Hunter Biden, who was on their list. The whistleblower, who, Facebook doesn't want us to say his name, Eric Charamella. Can you say?
Charamella.
Thank you.
Charamella.
Charamella. I like that.
Who else was on it? I mean, it would have been pretty interesting. Alexandra Chalupa.
Ah.
She was on it as well.
Chalupa.
Yeah.
I thought that was something you'd get at Taco Bell.
And they're delicious.
Oh, don't get him started on Taco Bell.
Taco Bell, man.
We've lost him the rest of the
The
show.
toasted cheddar ones they have out now.
Is somebody's last name?
Yeah.
Oh, God. So now the Senate, of course, is looking at a couple different options. But Lindsey Graham came out and said that if the Senate does not get to talk to the whistleblower, impeachment will be dead on arrival. Adam Schiff is, of course, protecting this whistleblower at all costs, which is really stupid because we all know his name because the Democrats released transcripts that didn't redact his name. So that was you. That was your bad, Adam Schiff.
Yeah.
But so I guess what are your thoughts on Graham's comments that impeachment will be dead on arrival if we don't get to talk to the whistleblower? It seems pretty reasonable.
Yeah, it's like me getting charged with rape and I go to court and the plaintiff, it's just the government there and there's no plaintiff there.
Yeah.
I get to face my accusers. It makes perfect sense.
You should in this country.
This should be live on TV in the House of Representatives, like the O.J. Simpson trial. Yeah, everybody should be able to sit there and question what's going on, see what's happening, and they're protecting the person. That's outrageous.
Yeah, I mean, Hunter Biden's a great one, though. I mean, if they go to the Senate, and this is where they typically have more ability to kind of push back, in a trial situation. But if it goes to the Senate, I mean, how do you not have Hunter Biden in there? The main case would be here, hey, we want to investigate Hunter Biden because we think he did something wrong. What you're saying is I'm only doing it for political purposes. Well, let's bring Hunter Biden out here and see if he did anything wrong.
Right.
We should have the ability for the American people to judge that.
That's why I wonder if the White House should try to change their messaging on this, because the left-wing media and also Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who I saw over the weekend come out and say, it's absolutely inappropriate that we should ask Hunter Biden to testify. He doesn't have anything to do with this. And I'm like,
This is what this whole thing's about.
what are you talking about? That is what spurred this entire thing.
I think the Democrats are brain dead now. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, it's incredible that they get away with saying that. And nobody pushes
his
back.
father's on tape
Bragging.
bragging about quid pro quo.
Yes.
It's on tape.
Yeah. There's a great story in the New York Times today, which is exactly how you would expect it to be. Just completely exonerating Hunter Biden on all of the stuff in Ukraine. And buried down, this is a little bit in depth on the story, but you buried down like 3/4 of the way through the story. There's this little paragraph about how, Joe Biden never said anything about Burisma. He never had anything to do with this. It wasn't even a focus of his investigations on the energy sector. And you're like, well, wait a minute, what were his investigations on the energy sector? They go on to say that he was targeting the main competition of Burisma. Well, it's like, if Hunter Biden's got a job at Burger King and Joe Biden's going after McDonald's, those are tied.
Kind of a big deal. Kind of a big deal.
It's a huge deal.
So just all of y'all's thoughts really quickly. There are two trains of thought here, I think, from the conservative side. One is Mitch McConnell needs to just completely shut this down. Don't even visit it. Don't even give them any credibility. Don't open it. There's another vein that says, yeah, we should look at it and we should get all of the facts, because this is when the real trial happens. This is when the American public gets to hear the truth and the facts of the matter. And you Democrats are going to look really stupid when the truth comes out. Let me go around the table really quickly. Stu, what side are you on that?
I can see both sides of it because you can say, oh, well, just dismiss it and don't give it any credibility. But on the other side, if you think of the way this is going to play out, the next 2 weeks we've got testimony from all the best witnesses the Democrats think they have, right? Like all their best materials coming out in the next couple of weeks. Then we go through Thanksgiving and Christmas. We come out on the other side. I'm sure they're going to impeach him around Christmas. It's all what is least expected. You come out on the other side, then you have the Senate trial. Well, what do you have from Democrats? You're going to have Democrats bring up the same witnesses being questioned again. We've already heard all their best material. What we haven't heard is word one from someone who is actually defending Trump and on that side of it. And I think they'd have the entire spotlight really, because all the other stuff is repeat stuff. They'd be able to go after these witnesses and really, and also bring in people like Hunter Biden, I think. And on the other side of that is the kind of side benefit is it pulls all those senators off the campaign trail and it just screws with their head, which I kind of like that as well. I mean, poor Cory Booker would not be able to go, you know, Amy Klobuchar.
Crazy eyes. He'll do. Won't be doing his crazy eyes on the campaign.
There you go.
It'll be
around people while you're talking.
on the floor. Yeah. What do you think, Keith?
I would go with the latter. I mean, if it goes to like the trial and everything, Biden, his son, all these people should be put in the seat and answer questions. And the entire country will see that everybody on the Democratic side are full of it.
Yeah.
And I think that could potentially galvanize, you know, Trump's constituency even more. So I think the country needs to know what's going on, because they turn on TV and hear one thing and it's complete lies.
Yeah.
Or they leave out
it.
specific details. Yeah, and they believe it.
Do you agree, Kevin?
Oh yeah, I strongly agree. And it would be good TV too.
Would be good TV. Good for all of us who are in media.
I don't know. You know?
All right, we've got much more to come when we return.
It'll be fun. That's going to be a fun scene.
Well, that's right, Jason. Before we get back into the conversation, we want to thank our sponsor, Quip. Welcome to the show, Quip. Quip makes a really awesome electric toothbrush, and you know how the electric toothbrush goes. You don't need the Oral-B one from the grocery store. You need Quip. Quip, it means brushing for 2 minutes twice a day, flossing regularly, no matter what brand you use. Quip makes it more simple. Starting with the electric toothbrush, they have refillable floss. That's huge, because I hate it when I get to the end of the floss thing and I'm like, oh, well, this isn't enough for me to finish. So thanks a lot. They have refillable floss and, of course, anti-cavity toothpaste. Quip's electric brush has sensitive sonic vibrations with a built-in timer and 30-second pulses to guide a full and even clean that is still gentle on your sensitive gums. And the floss dispenser has pre-marked string, which helps you use just enough. Yeah.
Nice. That's a good idea.
You know, you hear these ideas and you're like, why didn't I think of that?
Yeah.
You see this, you go on Shark Tank, and you're like, oh, well, if only I would have thought of that. I could be rich, okay?
That's why we're failures.
and we're doing reads for the smart people at Quip. You don't want to use the old, worn-out bristles that are ineffective. Quip delivers fresh brush head, floss, toothpaste refills to your door every 3 months, so you know that you don't have to keep track. It's like your air filter. You don't know when it's up. You don't know when it's gone bad. You need them to keep track for you. That's what Quip does for your toothbrush. Right now, if you go to quip.com/itmatters, you will get your first refill free. Join 3 million healthy mouths and get Quip today. It starts at $25. That is getquip.com/itmatters. getquip.com/itmatters. Go get your toothbrush. Nobody wants you to have messed up mouth and gums. Okay, that's not fun for your friends. It's not fun for your family. Do them a favor and go get.
Yeah, that's the worst. Teeth and gum action.
So, I tried to cover this particular act that has happened in Texas that a lot of people don't know about is happening. So the latest victim of the Texas Advanced Directives Act is a 9-month-old baby. Now, this act that takes place in Texas is called the Texas 10-day rule, which basically means that the hospital in Texas can decide to pull life-saving or life support treatments from any patient for whatever reason they decide. All they have to do is they have to meet together. The hospital administrators that all come, that are on this board that make this decision, they all get together, they meet. Whatever reason, doesn't have to be medical, nothing. They can decide for any reason they're going to pull your plug. And they're able to basically euthanize you. So
hard to believe that happens in Texas.
In Texas, of all places, 9-month-old Tinslee Lewis is the latest victim, I should say, of this act. Now, I will say, October 31st, they told the family that they were invoking the 10-day rule and that they were going to take Tinslee off of her life support system. Now, she's only on a ventilator. She's conscious. She's sedated. She has congestive heart disease, but she's conscious. Wow. I mean, there's video of this baby looking around. She's alert. And the hospital said that they just didn't think that the quality of life was there. And so they invoked the 10-day rule. And her mom basically thought, they're about to kill my kid. Texas Right to Life stepped in. They gave her until at least the 22nd of November. But Sarah Palin got made fun of for talking about death panels.
What is this?
What is this?
Yeah, that seems like exactly what it is. Now, is this? Would they allow them to move the baby to another hospital, or is this just?
So oftentimes they will, but I mean, you have to have the hospital's cooperation, right? And you only have 10 days. So as Kim Schwartz from Texas Right to Life told me today, this not 10 business days. It's 10 days total. So imagine you're just a regular average Texan.
Yeah, that's
and
nothing.
You're told, yeah, they said 4 of the 10 days in Tinslee's case were weekends. Wow. What do you do?
I mean, it's incomprehensible that can happen in Texas. I mean, have you talked to Greg Abbott about this yet?
No, we need to.
We do, because I mean, it just doesn't seem central to anything that he's doing. I mean, he's been a huge defender of life in every case that I've ever heard. It just doesn't seem possible, right? I mean, like, this is the story that you get from, like, the Netherlands or something, where everyone's horrified in the United States. Yeah. And we all say, hey, someday it could come here. This is actually how I learned about this, because we were talking about, I think it was Charlie Gard or one of those cases, and we brought it up, and we made the same point, like, someday this could come here, and you're like, it's right down the street. It's happening already, and you had several examples. Yeah. It's terrifying. I mean, look, life is important, and we've come to this place where, there's one candidate in the Democratic field who will say no third-term abortions. One. Now we're talking about people who are actually born. In some cases, adults who are conscious and able to, still do things, and they're just pulling plugs. It's insanity.
Yeah. Well, I can imagine with Medicare for All, that only gets way better, right?
Well,
what are your thoughts?
Solve that problem. So the one thing I understand, is she terminal? Is she beyond saving?
They have not said that. They have They have not diagnosed her as being terminal.
I can understand if you're just prolonging the inevitable. I mean, it's tough for the family to pull the plug on their loved one, but if you're prolonging the inevitable, I can see possibly why something like this could happen. But if that's not the case, this is horrible.
Well, and I will say the 10-day rule it excludes anyone who is, quote, brain dead. So that's a whole different category in itself. It doesn't even apply to the 10-day rule. Right. So you couldn't even say, well, they're brain dead, there's no brain activity, there's no life to be had.
Yeah, but this baby is conscious, she's smiling, she wants to be held. It's like, and you want to pull a plug on that? Sounds kind of sick to me. And for you not to have a reason doesn't make sense.
Yeah, because I mean, I understand your point is that there is something to be said for a family they don't want to make the hard decision, and I understand, and I would never wish that on anyone. Yeah. However, you leave that up to a hospital board. Yeah. It's like, that's a slippery slope.
Yeah,
I think the hospital has some rights to be able to say who's in their hospital, and if they treat someone and they don't believe there's any hope, you have to say, like, look, we're going to give you some time to try to find something else if you want to do this, but we can't do any more for them here. I mean, that's really uncomfortable and an awful situation that no one wants to be in, but at least it's kind of understandable. This idea where it's like, well, the quality of life doesn't seem so great, so let's pull the plug. That's just, it's cold.
Yeah, it looked like they would have some options for the family at least. Yeah, it looked like the hospital would have some options. Maybe the hospital can reach out to other hospitals to assist the family, but they're like, here, this is what's going on, you take care of it. You got 10 days.
Right, yeah, you certainly wouldn't expect that from a children's hospital. That's what gets me, pediatric hospiel.
Yeah, and look, the whole thing is insane, but 10 days is really insane. I mean, maybe it's 100 days, at least give you some time to be able to look at some options and everything else. I mean, it really is one of those stories that you almost don't believe. It feels like one of those things you'd be on Facebook, you'd be clicking on, and like it's got the fake news banner at the top of it. This should not be reality in the United States of America.
Yeah. Right. I encourage everyone to tweet Governor Abbott, write him. However you want to get in contact with him, let him know that we have got to hold a special session to get rid of the Texas Advance Directives Act. Help save little baby Tinslee. Tweet him, email him, call him, do whatever you need to do. We will be right back.
I was going to say something, but I thought it was inappropriate.
Kevin, you've said what?
Where's Black Lives Matter when you need them? Yeah.
It's a great point.
Yeah.
It's a really great point. I mean, where are they when you need them for all of the millions of abortions that are taking place? They're aborting millions of black babies.
Yeah, Black Lives Matter is not to save black lives. It's used to divide us. That's the whole position. Yeah.
So true. All right, stay with us. Coming up in overtime, we're talking about AOC. So
Oh, man.
Need I even say more? You gotta
I
tune
love
in.
her.
BlazeTV.com. We'll see you there.